Hello everyone, welcome to SQLEdge, the channel where we make SQL simple and practical. In today's session, we are going to understand the different types of SQL commands and then we'll focus on SQL DDL commands in detail. Let's introduce the SQL commands. What is meant by SQL command? We know in the previous video sessions, we have downloaded installed the SQL Server instance, downloaded and installed the SSMS, and we were successfully connected to the SQL Server. Now, to create the new databases, to create the new tables, we need to write the SQL commands. So, first thing is what is meant by SQL commands in a SQL Server. So, SQL command in SQL Server are the instructions we give to the database to perform specific operations. Broadly, SQL commands are divided into 5 different categories. We have the DDL, DML, DCL, TCL, and DQL. What kind of actions we can ask to the database to perform, such as creating a table, inserting the data, retrieving the records, or granting the permissions to the user. We can think of a command as we give the order to the SQL Server, and SQL Server will execute the order. As I mentioned, there are several 5 major types of SQL commands we are having. Those are listed out here. We have the DDL, we have DML, we have DCL, we have TCL, and we have the DQL. Under each of these types, we'll be having several commands. Basically, these 5 are the different types of SQL commands, and under each of the type, we will be able to find the specific commands to that type. Right, so we can see under DDL we are having data definition. DDL is nothing but the data definition language. So under data definition language we can see create, alter, drop, and truncate. Under DML, which is nothing but the data manipulation language, we can see insert, update, delete commands are there. Under DCL we have the grant and revoke. Under TCL again we have the commit, rollback, save point. Under DQL there is only one command, we are having a select command. Right, now let's see what those commands are. So today's session we'll be focusing on the DDL commands, which are nothing but the data definition language. As it is mentioned here, we can see DDL commands are used to define and modify the database structures such as tables, schemas, objects. Right, so DDL commands will help us to define and modify the structure of the database and the objects inside a database like tables, views, indexes, procedures. There are 5 main commands we are having under this DDL. First one is a create, second one is alter, drop, truncate, and rename. So create will refer to creating a new database object. It might be a new database or it might be a new database object inside a database. So we can create new database, we can create a table inside a database, we can create index, view, stored procedures, etc. Second command we are having is alter, which is used for modifying the database structure. So using alter command, we can modify the existing object. It can be any existing object. Let's say using create command, we have created a table, and in that table we are having 5 columns. For an example, if you want to add one more column inside that table, you can add the column using alter command. So basically we are modifying the existing structure of the database object. Then we have the drop command, which is used for deleting the database or deleting any of the database object. Now what kind of object we can have? Table, index, views, functions, stored procedures. Then next we are having a truncate command. Truncate is also a DDL command. So truncate will remove all the rows from a table, right? So if we have the data inside a table, like what we can have inside a Excel workbook as well. We create a table inside a Excel workbook and we will delete one by one row, right? And in that way we can delete all the rows. So truncate is used in such a manner. It will remove all the rows from a specific table. And last command we are having is a rename, which is not direct in a SQL Server. It can be done via using a stored procedure. So rename is used to rename the existing database objects. right? So let's see these commands along with their syntax and the use cases, right? Let's jump to the SQL Server. So first I'll connect to the database engine, right? Whenever we are trying to write any query, we need to connect to the database engine. I have the server name, which is nothing but my desktop name. We have seen in the last video session how to connect to the database engine, right? I'm going to use Windows authentication and click on connect button. Once I clicked on the connect button, I can see this window has been populated, and I can click on the new query to write any write any commands in the SQL Server, right? Currently you see there is these many databases we are having. So how to look for the database? So you can see on my left in the Object Explorer, here we are having the database folder. Under the databases, we could see there are several databases available, right? There are some system databases, there are some user created databases. So any new database we are creating, that will appear here in this pane, we can say, right? By default, whenever we open any new query window, a master database will be opened up here. Okay, so any query we will be running, that will be running against the master database, right? That we don't have to do. We are going to create a new database using a create command. We know because our first command in the DDL is a create command. Create can be used to database, index, views, and function, etc. So let's see. We have defined the DDL, and now we are going to see the use cases of the DDL command, right? So first one is a create. So create is used to create the database objects. It can create a new database or a new database objects, like it can create database, table, index, views, procedures, etc. Right? So in this demo, we are going to see how to create a new database and how to create a new table. So this below is the general syntax we are having for creating any database. What we need to do, we need to write a create, then what object we are creating, that object name, sorry, not the object name, the object type, it is a database. So create database, and then we have to give the name of the database, right? So in this place, your database name, we can replace with any name, and that database will be created. You can see under the databases section, these are all the databases available currently on my machine, right? So let's see, I will be going to create a new database. So how we can write create database, and I have to give the database name. See here, we are not writing the name in quotes, single quote, double quotes, bracket, anything like that. We are going to write the database name without any quotes, without any bracket. So let's say I will be giving the database name as a SQLEdge, right? So you can see the SQLEdge is currently not available here in the left side pane of this Object Explorer. So I can run the SQL command. How to run the SQL command? Now I have written the create command to create the database. How I can run this command against the server? So for running the SQL command, running any SQL command, you have to select the SQL command first, and here you could see a execute button, or you can press F5 as well, right? So first we need to select the specific line of code, line of commands, and then click on execute. So it will say like command completed successfully. Now you can see the command has been completed successfully, but still we are not able to see the database with this name as a SQLEdge. So what you can do, you can go to the databases, right click, and click on refresh. So on the refresh, you will see a new database is created, which we have just created using a create command. So like this, we can create a new database easily, right? So under this database, now you could see there are all the options available. Like we can create a tables, we can create a views, we can create a stored procedures, functions, and triggers, right? But currently these all objects are only defined as a system defined objects. We could see we are not having any new table created under these objects. So currently we have just created a database. Similar to that, to create any new object, we are having the syntax for, let's say I have to create a table, I can write a create table command, and there is some specific syntax we are having. under the next syntax, right? Create table, table name. Here we need to mention column 1 and its data type. So now when we are creating a table, we need to mention what kind of or what are the columns we could have under that table, so that all column names along with the data type we need to mention, right? Same way, if I have to create a stored procedure, so I will write a create command, create procedure. Okay, then it will have the name of the procedure, and then we can have the syntax like as, begin and end. So inside this we'll be having a several code block of codes we'll be having, but here we are learning just a create command. So create command can be used to create a new database or any new objects inside a database. It may be a table, it may be the procedure, it may be the view, function, or triggers as well, right? So this is how we can use the create command to create a new database objects. Let's see how to create a table. Currently, if you see under the SQLEdge, I don't see any table here. All the tables available are the system, flat, external. These folders are there, but nothing is there, right? So whenever we create a new table, that table will be appear under this tables folder under a specific database, right? So if I have to create a table under the SQLEdge database, how I can create? So this is a general syntax we are having. Create table, table name, column 1, column 2, alongside with the data type we have to give. So let's say I want to create an employees table. So I will write create table and name of the table. Name of the table I am giving as a employee. Then opening bracket and closing bracket. Important, these are the standard way to write the query. Okay, and these are the standard defined by the Microsoft. So we have to write the query in a standard way only, right? So I'm going to create this table, create table, name of the table, column name, then data type, column name, data type, column name, data type, column name and data type, right? Every column name after data type we should have a comma, right? Every column name should be separated by a comma, and then close the bracket. It is not necessary to have the semicolon at the end, but the general syntax is create table, name of the table, opening bracket, give the column name alongside with the data type, then comma, second column name data type, comma, third column name and data type, and so on. We can have almost 1024 columns inside a table, which is a standard number of columns we can have inside a SQL Server database for a specific table. At the end we have to close the bracket. Now if I have to create the table, I can select the syntax whatever I have written for creating the table, and I can hit the execute button. Just focus here, when I am executing this selected query, it is saying like command completed successfully, but still I don't see the table created here. Then how the table, where the table is created? So make sure we are having one important thing to focus here. Whatever the query we are executing, that query will be executing against the database which is selected out here. Right, so here we can select the database, and against that database we are running the query. So currently what database we are having? We are having a master database. So whatever the table employees we have created, that will be available under the master database. Go to the database, master tables, and you would see there is an employee table created. Here it is, right? But we don't have to create in the master database. We have to create the table under the SQLEdge. So what we can do? We can first select the database from the drop down in which you have to create the table. I have to create the table in SQLEdge database. So I will select this one, and now I will just select this syntax and then click on execute button. Once I hit the execute, the command will complete successfully, and we could see the table should be now created. It is still not appearing here, so we have to click on refresh button and the table will be created here. We could see now a table is created. Now if you expand the table, again here is a plus icon, that means we can expand the table. If we expand the table now, you will see here all the details, like what are the columns we are having under this table. So these all columns will be available here in the under the specific table and columns folder. Then if there are any indexes, triggers, statistics, that all details we have to see, but these many details will be having under single table. We can see the column details, what are the number of columns we are having here, right? So this is how we can create a new table, or we can create a new database as well, right? Let's say now this table we are having called employee. In this employee table we have to add a new column. So how we can do that? Using the second command in the DDL, which is alter, which is used to modify the structure, to add the modify or drop the columns or constraint or alter any stored procedure, right? So this is used to modify the existing object. Let's say table is one of the object. I want to modify this object by adding a new column inside a table. Let's say currently we are having employee ID, first name, last name, salary and hire date. I want to add a new column called date of birth, and the date type, the data type of that column should be again a date. So how I can add that? For that, adding a column, I have this syntax here, alter table. Now before going to the actual syntax, I would like to write an general syntax here. To add a column, we need to write a command alter table. As we are modifying the table, right? This is a table and we are trying to modify the structure of the table. So I need to write a alter table. Then we have to give the name of the table which we are altering, right? So what table we are altering, that we need to mention. So I need to mention table name. Then what action we are doing? We are going to add a new column called birth date. So I can mention add, and here we just need to mention new column name, and then next to that we have to give the data type. So this is the general syntax we'll be having for adding the new column to the existing table, right? I'm saying the table is already exist and I want to add a new column to it. So we need to use alter command for that. Alter is used to modify the existing object. So alter table, table name, add new column name and data type, right? So if you just want to add the new column date of birth into this table employees, I can write alter table employees, because name of the table is employees. Add, what is the column name we are having, that we need to add. So I just need to add the column called date of birth, right? And the data type of that is date, because in the date of birth we can store the date only, so it should be have a date data type, right? So this is how we can add a new column to the existing table. Let's say now I have to drop the column, I have to remove the hire date column. How I can remove that? Same way, alter table, right? So instead of add, we need to mention drop column, and we need to mention here the column name, which column you are going to drop, right? So let's say the same syntax I want to write for the employees table, and I want to drop the column called hire date. I can execute that. Okay, let's see. Currently we are having these many columns here. Let's refresh. These many columns we are having. So let me run this alter command to add the date of birth column first. Select the syntax, select the query return. Okay, we can select directly by clicking here, or we can select like this as well, and click on execute. So command completed successfully. We should see a new column added here called a date of birth. So let's see, refresh it, columns folder. You can refresh either table itself, or you can refresh the columns as well. So I will refresh the columns by right clicking on it. You would see the new column is created called date of birth, right? Because we have altered the table for addition of a date of birth column. Now let's see, I am going to run another alter command for dropping the column, right? Drop column hire date. Currently we could see there is a hire date column we are having. If I select this data, select this line of code and execute, now command completed successfully. So it should have deleted the hire date column now, but still we could see that column is here. So we need to refresh this, and then we will be able to see now hire date column is not available into this table, because we have just dropped that column using alter table drop command, right? So this is how we can use the alter command, right? This can be used to alter the procedure as well, alter procedure, right? Stored procedure and all those other database objects we are having that we have to see. but we can alter the procedure, we can alter the view, or we can alter the function as well, right? So using alter command we can modify the any existing object, right? Next command we are having is a drop. Drop is used to delete the database object permanently. So using drop command we can delete the database or any objects within the database. So let's see an example. Let's say I want to drop the table. So how I can write the command? Drop table, table name, right? We have to give the table name here. Now drop table, this is the command. I want to drop an employee table. I can write a drop table employees. Semicolon is not needed. So just to select this drop command and hit execute. So once I click on execute, it should drop this table entirely. Let's refresh this and we should see now table is not exist in this tables folder, though employees table is not there. If you want to drop the department table, how we can write? Drop table department, right? So we have to give the name of the table. Now you see when I execute this, it will throw an error because we are trying to drop an object or table called a department which is not exist. So it will throw the error saying like cannot drop the object department because it is not exist. So any object we are trying to drop, that should exist first, then only we can drop the object, right? So this is how we can use the drop command to drop any object. Similar way, if you have to drop the procedure, we can write drop procedure, and here we need to give the name of the procedure name. If you have to drop the view, we can write drop view and view name. Okay, similar way, if you have to drop the database itself, so how we can write? Drop database, and we have to give the database name. Okay, let's try to drop the object. Let's try to drop the database which we have created just now. What database we have created? SQLEdge. So let's try to drop that database SQLEdge. If I execute this, it will drop the, it is saying it is not possible to drop because it is in use, right? Why it is saying this? Because currently we are using this database to create these tables and all. So for dropping the database, we have to close this window and then execute the command into this command into a new query window. In this way we can drop the database as well, right? Once dropped, the object and its data are lost permanently. So if you drop any table, the data inside the table will be lost permanently. If you drop any object like table, procedure, function, that cannot be recovered. So we need to be very cautious while running any drop command. Last command we are having is a truncate, which is used to remove all the rows from the table. So what this truncate will do? Truncate will remove the data from the table, right? So the structure will remains there. It will just remove all the rows from the table. It will not delete the structure. But drop command, if you see, in the other hand, drop command will drop the entire table structure as well. Nothing will be left there, right? So just to summarize this, before that I'll just go to the creating the database once again. Okay, so let's say I'm creating this table called database called company DB, execute it, and now I'm trying to create a table under the company DB. Okay, so I have this company DB database. I'm going to create this employee table. See here, if I'm missing any comma, okay, in between the two columns, it will show the red error, right? So this query will not be now executable. It will throw the error saying it is a incorrect syntax. So whatever the query we are writing, the syntax should be as per standard. Every column name should be comma separated. Now all the column names are comma separated, but let's say if we are not supplying the data type for any of the column, again it will show the error, right? The definition of the column salary must be include a data type. So every column should have data type, right? Then only it will execute correctly. So let's give the data type. Now one more thing, let's say I'm just renaming this table as a employees data, right? Employee data. Okay, so at that time also it will throw the error. Why? Because the name of the any object. It may be the database, it may be the table, it may be the procedure. It should not have the space in between, right? So if you have to create the table like this, you have to create like the combined name employees data. Okay, same will applicable for the column name as well. If I have to create the column with first name and I'm giving the space in between, it will throw the error. So there should not be any space between the column name, table name, database name, or any other object name. In this way we can create the table easily under the company DB. So let me refresh this and you will see a new database is created, company DB, and we could have one table also inside this database called employee data, right? So let's summarize this today's session. What are the things we have seen? So there are different kinds of SQL commands we are having: DDL, DML, DCL, TCL, and DQL. In that very first one we have seen today is a DDL, data definition language. Data definition language deals with the modification or creation of the database. So it will basically deals with the structure of the database, right? So there are 4 different commands we are having in the under the DDL. First one is a create, which is used to create a new objects like database, table, view, index. Then second we have the alter command, which is used to modify the existing objects. The third command is a drop command, which is used to remove all the the drop command is used to delete the object permanently. So we can drop the table, we can drop the database, view, function. The truncate command is there, which will be used to remove all the rows by keeping the structure. So the truncate will remove only the data from the table, it will not remove the structure. And last command is rename. Okay, this is used for renaming the object that we have not seen yet, right? But we will see at later point how to use this rename command, because this command cannot be used directly. We have to use this with an system stored procedure called sp_rename, right? So that's a quick introduction to the SQL commands and a deep dive into the DDL commands. In upcoming videos, we will cover the remaining types of commands like DML, DCL, TCL in detail, right? Thanks for watching SQLEdge, your edge in mastering SQL. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video session soon.